Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. I'll react if I had to. Put some things in the past too, and don't let them distract you, but react if you have to. Yeah. React if you have to. Yeah.
Don't know the time, yeah. Just know that I'm, one of a kind, What's on your mind, What hard to find, Beautiful mind, Still in my prime, Just know that I'm here.
What's up, guys? How are you doing, Jeff?
Doing well, Chris. What's up?
Not much. Somebody asked me when I was a kid, "What's up?" and my buddy would always respond, if he was next to me, or if somebody asked him what's up, he'd say hard dicks and airplanes. Just thought of that.
How old were you guys?
10.
See, I think I said chicken butt.
Right.
What's up, chicken butt?
Yeah.
When I was 10. Chris, you were a little advanced.
When I was a fucking jerk off, I used to hold this kid down and punch him until he said the word fuck.
Why would you do that?
Listen to that voice.
Who's that?
Who is that?
Hey, I'm Theresa.
Hi, Theresa.
Hello.
I'm really excited for today.
I am too.
Because it's important. It's actually going to probably be a heavy, brutal topic, but it's so important. So I'm so glad you're here with us. This is my friend Theresa. Wait, before we get into intros, Jeff, you're a singer, right?
Sort of. Yes.
Can you sing this sentence? Can you sing it?
What is the sentence?
I never ever saw the Northern Lights.
I don't know.
I never ever saw the Northern Lights. And what are you supposed to sing?
I never ever heard a cluster of
This
flies.
is a farmhouse. Teresa's a huge fish head.
This is fish.
Yeah.
This is fish.
Farmhouse, that's the record, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah,
what's
it is.
The whole, yeah.
Yeah.
So for I'm not like a big fucking jam bander. Theresa is, but some of my buddies are. I mean, since high school, would follow the Grateful Dead stuff. Fish was a huge phenomenon, and so I got into Farmhouse and Heavy Things. Those are two of my favorite songs.
Those are solid songs, man.
They're
I don't care what anybody says.
Right. So Theresa, so how we met, actually, I live in Webster now, and there's Webster's like a small town in a big city. It has some mom and pops. It has like a downtown feel in Old Webster, and there was a hair saloon for men, and I started getting my hair cut there right when I moved. And they have sports on. You can get they give coffee complimentary. So I just would go up there. It's close, and I think maybe been going there for 5+ years, and then probably 4 years ago, Theresa cut my hair once, and we hit it off, and I was like, I just want to stick with her.
I was really happy you did that. Like, I would see you sometimes, and you would always be like, oh, you give the best scalp massage. I'm going to come to you.
And
then I was like, well, thanks. And that's cool. And then I would like see you sometimes after that. But then we connected on Fish, and I had you.
So that was it.
My wife does hair, and so she cuts my hair for free.
Nice, yeah.
But she skips the scalp massage with me.
That's bullshit.
Oh,
Thank you. I'm trying to be. I'm keeping the G rating on my side.
All right.
That's fair. That's fair.
So yeah, Theresa would give the best scalp, and she does. So if anybody's looking to get their hair cut, Theresa cuts hair at Hair Saloon for Men in Webster.
Thanks for the endorsement.
And the funny thing, I just thought of this when I first started like going to her. We were talking about Fish, and I was dropping F-bombs, and it was a busy Saturday, and Teresa's like, Chris, I love you. You got to watch the F word. There's a lot of kids in here. I'm like, oh, shit, you're right. I mean, oh, shoot. So, Theresa, how's my hair look today, actually?
I think it looks fabulous. I mean, I
see you last Saturday?
Yeah, I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but
looks good.
It looks good. That looks good. That's sharp.
There ain't much to do here, though, Theresa. I think my cousin goes in to see you. I think another musician here at the church we go to goes to see you. So we hit it off instantaneously because she was talking about something, and Fish got brought up. And then I heard her passion and love for music and for Fish. And my buddies, like I'm like you guys got to cross paths. You probably have, but
We've been at the same shows together. I'm certain. I'm certain.
not saying you, but I know for them there was probably some red eyes and and some faded memories.
Hey, well, maybe. I
And
don't
some
know.
munchies.
I don't know. I can neither confirm nor deny
Right.
this.
That's we don't want to take the fifth, right?
That's
Plead the
right.
fifth. So
That's
so
right.
when Theresa started cutting my hair, you know, if you guys, for those of you that don't know me, believe it or not, I'm kind of a bullshitter, right? We get to chatting about life, and I've gone through a lot of things since, and the time that we have been seeing each other. Usually every 3 weeks is what I try
Just
to get
about,
in.
yeah.
I'm follically challenged, I guess is what is that what you hear that often?
No, but that's
Is that a dad
appropriate.
joke?
That's a good one.
All
That's,
right.
that's appropriate.
And I shared with her my recovery story, the journey I was on, and you know, I remember talking to her about it, and that first time she got a little you could tell something changed. And in your demeanor, you're one of the most you pursued happiness and joy and love other people, and like you do that with a passion. So when your face changed, I knew something was heavy inside in your heart.
Yeah.
And I asked you, and you had mentioned to me at the time that you have a sister that's really been struggling with drug use, with an addiction.
Yeah.
And immediately then we've like connected on a deeper level.
Yeah. And that was really profound to me that you were going through the same thing, and knowing that you were gave me hope that she could maybe do it. And so it was just nice to. I just have a soft spot for people that are going through that, you know.
Yeah, you have a big heart, and it was it really when we discussed that. Yeah, we I don't know, it's like you're with someone that gets it. And I always say there's a two-pronged approach there. What addiction does, it's not just a disease of the addict, but it's a disease to the entire family.
Yes.
It ripple affects your entire family. And I'm not just talking about blood family and immediate family, but your friends that are family too. My fucked up life fucked up other people's lives because they consumed their worry, it stole their joy. They were fully stressed for me. So it's a disease of the entire family. And now being on the other side of it and going through like the amends and stuff you make with folks as part of your recovery journey, I know I don't know how she's feeling. I know what she's feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because I did it to my friends and family and my mom, and somehow, some way, the grace of God was able to fight it, and I'm maintaining it. I try to say that I'm confident in my sobriety, but I never want to get too cocky, and that's a daily approach. So, with that being said, I've been talking to Theresa since we launched this podcast, and I'm like, I got to have you on. I got to have you share the story of your sister. What's your sister's name?
My sister's name is
For the
Michelle.
audience, Michelle. That's right. And Michelle was a beautiful person.
Yes.
And
That's an understatement. Just
yeah.
about. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I said was. She still is, but she's not with us anymore, right, Theresa?
That's correct. She passed away on February 12th, 2018. She succumbed to her addiction, and we didn't even know she was using again. So it was a complete shock.
Do you mind sharing what she was addicted to?
Certainly, she was addicted to opiates, heroin mostly, but it started with OxyContin.
That's usually
It is, yeah.
launching pad for this
That's the
shit.
pathway, yeah, it is.
Yeah, it's brutal. So in January when we started the podcast, I always talked about wanting to have you on because of, when she passed away, my heart fucking broke for you, and I prayed for you, with you, if you want to say that, and my heart just broke. But I knew immediately that whatever I could to walk this grief journey that is doesn't have a finish line. That's mythological, that there's a finish line to it. You just learn to live with your grief, and you from in my experience, it's just proof that you loved.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is not a linear process.
Right.
You go
Perfect.
backwards, and you go forwards, and you go really far forwards, and then you fall back to the day it happened, and there's no telling how it's going to go. There's no telling what kind of day you're going to have when you wake up, when you're dealing with something like this. There's just no telling how it's going to work out. And so, yeah, it's all over the place. And, and it's okay to fall backwards, and it's okay to be really fucking sad sometimes for seemingly no reason. That's
It is
just,
okay.
Yeah, and that's just the way it is. I've had to accept that. And that's a very hard thing for me, especially in my job, because I work with the public, and I'm expected to be cheerful. And there's times where I just feel the grief spilling out of me onto perfect strangers. And that's difficult. I know it takes people by surprise, but and they're thinking like, oh, this just came out of nowhere. I'm like, it didn't come out of nowhere. I've been thinking about this since I woke up this morning, and sorry, it just came out. It just comes out. And you're looking for some connection with somebody, and that's why it spills out of you.
You couldn't have said it better. I'm thinking about, as we relate, like I'm trying to think in my non-Christian days, what would make me want to punch somebody in the face more. And I don't think there is anything more that when somebody would just say, you need to get over it. You need to never mind. But I'll
tell you what you need to do.
Right. And when now, if I hear that, or I hear somebody say it to somebody else, I hug the person that it was said to, but I really want to kind of pray for the person that said it, because they haven't yet endured.
Yeah, and they will. That's the thing. They will.
Happens to, usually some people way more than others, unfortunately, but it does catch up with you. And I don't want anybody to go through this pain that I have. I don't want anybody to go through the pain that you have.
No, I don't.
You just can tell who hasn't when they say that
exactly.
shit.
And I've been fortunate. Let me put a little piece into your heart right now. No one has ever told me that.
God bless.
I am so lucky that they're actually, everybody else is lucky.
Exactly.
But luckily, no one has told me that. So I think everybody understands that this was a sudden, shocking loss.
Yes.
And she was young. She was 31 years old. Like, you're just getting started.
That's brutal.
It is. It really is.
So you brought up her age, and that's what I kind of want to do today is start at the beginning. I want to, if you can tell us how you grew up together, because you've often referred to me or told me, she's your sister, best friend, all bald in one, right? Yeah,
she was. So my parents owned a business when we were growing up, and as a result of that, they worked constantly. So Michelle and I didn't really do any extracurricular activities. We didn't do sports. We didn't do Girl Scouts. We didn't do, and I wanted to, but we just didn't. We were too busy, or maybe too broke, or maybe a combination of the two. So Michelle and I, all we really had was each other. We went to work with our parents just about every day, and we had to play together, and we had to get along together, and we had to use our imaginations together. And I'll tell you what, we had a ball doing it. We did. I mean, I can think of so many adventures we had in this seemingly foreign place. It was this, it was this big building. It was a whole shop full of like RV parts and weird. It was an RV business. I'll say that, I'll just say that. And so it was just, and then, there was like a back lot with all the RVs parked. And it was, I just remember like riding bikes and playing and making up all these crazy games and stories. And we had a ball together, but that we were kind of all we had. I mean, we had friends at school and everything, but for the most part, it was just the two of us. So that's, we just had each other. Yeah, we just had each other, and it wasn't always pretty. We didn't always get along. I mean, how, do you hate your siblings sometimes? Yeah, when you're like that age, yes, you do.
Yeah, don't ask my sisters.
Right. Right, yeah, you can plead the fifth on that one. That's fine. That's fair.
Especially the older one. Her and I have more the dynamic of brother-sister. She's the older sister, but my younger sister's, she's a lot younger than me and my older sister. So she's kind of, we both, and she gets so pissed, but we both try to parent her, you know. But yeah, I get it. You're friends, and then I know the And when you grow that close, there's so many similarities that I have because that's how I grew. I grew like that towards my old man. Him and I became best friends, and then the whole familial thing. But so when that light goes out, it's multiple lights. It goes out in your world.
Well, yeah, it's a part of you.
Right. That's a great way to put it.
Not even just a part of your life. It's you. That's your soul. That's somebody that's connected to you in the deepest way possible. I mean, to lose a sibling is to lose your childhood. It's to lose the only person who knows what you went through together, because we did go through a lot of stuff together.
Absolutely.
Our biological dad was not good to us.
Sorry to hear that.
Thank you. He did not teach us to love ourselves. He did not teach us how to love other people. He didn't want us to feel too good about ourselves. You know, that was conceited and that was vain, and in God's eyes, that's a sin. And he taught us so many ugly things about life and religion. I feel like he used religion all wrong, you know, because I do believe,
all the time.
I believe Christianity and religion has the power to make somebody a very good person, but when you put it in the wrong hands, it's not a good thing.
Yep.
It's just not a good thing. So, he was physically abusive and he was emotionally neglectful, and I remember being scared of him. Michelle didn't seem to remember that.
What's the age difference with you and Michelle?
We are just under 2 years apart.
Without me asking how old you are, right? See how I did that?
You know, I'm not sensitive about my age, really. That's cool with me, but we are just under 2 years. Like if she would have been born 12 days later, we would be exactly 2 years apart.
Is she older or younger?
She was younger.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Man, I'm sure there's a dynamic there of being the older sister.
Yeah, there's a protective nature.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And that goes all the way back to childhood. Like I remember getting in trouble and being physically punished for things that and that was traumatic. That was so traumatic. He didn't do it, and I don't want to
beat the fuck out of this guy. That's not Christian.
That's not Christian. We just talked about this.
I know. I'm telling you, it's a daily, minute by minute thing with me that I have to say that to remind myself you're veering.
So yep. Sometimes it's one day at a time. Sometimes it's 1 minute at a time.
Absolutely.
Sometimes
In my
it just
case,
has to be that way.
You said one thing, Theresa,
Yeah.
that I can. It's super important that people don't realize this. I didn't realize it until I had to go through these training classes to become a foster parent. That you have to take a class called sibling bonds. So in the state of Missouri, and I'm sure it's like this everywhere else, the states, when children enter care, enter children's division, they do whatever they can not to separate the siblings, because the sibling bond, and it's the longest relationship you're supposed to have.
Yeah, it is.
By statistics, right? You got your parents, you know, but your sibling, you're supposed to grow old together. And unfortunately, Theresa, that's not going to happen for you. And I don't mean to bring it up that way, but that's how powerful this is to you, and how the level of hurt is unimaginable. So back to being siblings. How old do you think she was when she started using?
I want to say she had to be around 21 or 22. And I can distinctly remember the moment where I found out about it. So we were just dumb kids, you know, high school. Sure. I smoked pot with her for the first time.
Not you.
No way. No. And so it's, I had done it a few times before, and I was like, hey, you got to, we got to, I don't feel responsible for her drug use at all, but
No, it's not your responsibility.
No, it's not. She chose to do that with me. I didn't make her do it. She expressed curiosity, and I was like, well, I can get that. I can do that for you.
Sure.
So I did that, and she was always kind of just, smoked weed, drank a little alcohol every once, just normal teenager stuff,
Even Jeff did that, I think.
Yeah, even Jeff did that.
Even Jeff did that. Even this saint over here.
Right.
Right. I'm on a pedestal.
Sure.
Jeff the liberal.
Well, wait. We got Theresa the liberal, too.
We got Theresa, too.
You're outnumbered today.
You are outnumbered today.
Have I really ever said what I am, or do people just kind of know? And I'm not, anyway.
Yeah.
I guess I'm outnumbered.
Well, that'll be another podcast. That's another podcast.
Yeah.
You're definitely not Chris the liberal.
Right. I've never been called that.
No.
Ever.
Been called a lot of things.
I've been called a lot of things.
So back to what I was saying is that so we she did normal stuff like that, and I do remember I would say this was maybe 2008 or 2009. I remember she approached me and was like, "Hey, I know where to get OxyContins if you ever want them." And I was like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah,
No. I was like, no, I don't want that. I just, but I didn't think anything of it. I just was
Nobody
like, no.
did, Theresa.
No, I know.
It's
That's
crazy.
the thing. It was so innocent. It was just like, I did a few pills in high school. I messed around with some of that stuff, but I just was like, oh God, no. I had heard what OxyContin. I heard it was just a really, really intense high. I didn't know that it was like super, super addictive. I just had heard, and I've never been an extremist as far as my drug or alcohol use. I don't like feeling out of control. So when she offered me something so powerful, I was like, oh, no,
Yeah, you had the
fucking
ability
thank
to
you.
say no.
Yeah, no, thank you. So
That was the old DARE slogan, remember? Just say no.
That's
just
right.
say no. That's right. And it worked for me, by golly.
My DARE officer reeked of fucking scotch and cigarettes. In 6th grade, we always used to be like, dude, your bear that you bring in smells like a fucking ashtray, bro.
Hey, but he's allowed to do that.
I guess,
do as I
yeah,
say,
yeah.
not as I do.
Right. That's what I tell Charlie.
That's right. That's healthy. That's
so
healthy.
she started on the pills.
She did, yeah, and I just didn't think anything of it. I was doing my own thing. I was in my early 20s. I started seeing fish a year later, so off I went into my own world. So and then one day I was I remember this day too. I was asleep with a cold. I had gone to bed early. I had taken NyQuil. I was like, all right, I'm out. And my mom came into my bedroom and woke me up, and she said, you need to come out here. We need to talk. And I was like, oh my God, what? Like, I'm sleeping. I'm sick. Like, what do you want? So we came out and gathered in the living room, and
Who was all in the living room?
all four of us. My mom, her husband, who is my dad now.
Right,
he adopted me, so I have his last name now. So I'll separate the two, biological dad and dad.
I know
who
all
it's-
about it.
So yeah. So anyway, so it was that my mom, my current dad, and my sister and myself. So the four of us were in the living room. And that was when Michelle came out and told us that she had a problem with addiction, and she was addicted to heroin. And it took
God,
me...
how fucking ballsy of her to do that.
I know, right? I was glad she did. My first instinct was frustration because
Sure.
I had just lost a friend to it.
Really?
Yes.
Brutal.
So,
God.
so I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, what, are you serious? And I feel bad now because my first instinct was anger, but
It's
I was
okay.
also like, I
It's
was
okay.
on NyQuil. I had just been woken up to be told
Sure.
this. I was sick. I was cranky. So at first it was like, what the fuck is going on?
I'm so grateful for you sharing your real feelings.
Yeah.
I said before we started, I go, don't get offended by this, Theresa, but I'm going to refer to you as an ordinary person because Jeff and I are ordinary people. We're not celebrities, we're not, having, this podcast isn't for the celebrities. It's for ordinary people.
Sure.
And I appreciate you sharing those emotions and being honest because people feel so much shame in how they feel.
Yeah.
And then they live with that. Like like you just kind of said it. I wish I wasn't angry. Like, it's okay.
Well, I'll continue with
Yeah.
what I was saying, though, is that the very next day, I began reaching out to some of my other friends who I knew were in recovery, and I was like, what can I do for her right now? So I was also the very first person to take her to a meeting.
That's awesome.
I went with her to a meeting, and
I bet she was so scared.
She must have been. She must have been terrified.
Even to initiate that conversation in your living room. there's people that just don't, they're not even close to that point. And to be at that point. Go ahead.
It seems like you hear it the other way around.
Yeah.
Like an intervention
Yeah,
happens.
you're right.
Usually,
That's a great point.
Yeah, usually the person is
You're dragging a
approached.
person, kicking and screaming.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh. Very good point, Jeff.
Yeah.
So it shows me a lot of things, and
It tells me that, most importantly, it tells me that she didn't want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't want to do this
that's the
anymore.
power of fucking addiction.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, and that's what's so sad about it is that
That's a great point. I'm
that's
sorry I
cool.
interrupted. I have
Yeah.
fucking goosebumps. You're right. That's exactly what it shows.
Mm-hmm.
That she didn't want to be addicted to this shit. It was.
It's
sorry.
a miserable existence.
It's crazy.
I mean, it's a miserable, and then even just to think about getting sober from the stuff. I mean, that's, from what I understand, the absolute worst feeling that a person can go through. I mean, I can't even comprehend how bad it is. It's been described.
Yep.
I think people attempt to describe it, but I don't think I could ever comprehend how bad that is.
3 days of laying in a bathtub, puking your
Yes.
guts out. Yeah, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
So
It's not my idea of a good time.
After this revelation in your living room, then you guys immediately went to a meeting the next day.
The next day, yeah, I took her.
Did she go to anything inpatient?
She did, but the first thing she tried was outpatient, though. And
yeah.
and I don't want to my mother is a saint and she's wonderful and she dealt with this in the best way she knew how, but she did not know how bad this was. She thought it was just who
That's
did
normal.
though? Who
That's-
did?
that's normal.
I mean, when Michelle got into it, I feel like Michelle was on the front end of this whole epidemic that has since exploded since then.
Yeah.
So
that's
we didn't know anything. So my mom was thinking oh, okay, just send her to an outpatient place. She'll go to a meeting a couple times a week, and in a little while she'll be fine.
I'm
right?
praying for your mom.
Oh yeah, yeah,
sure
please, yeah.
Mothers generally are they want to help, and they won't push back if their child's super scared. So even if she would have pushed, hey, you need inpatient, and been a hard ass about it, foot down, and your sister would let me try outpatient first. I'm scared to death, because that a mother, you know how scared a mother is when their child goes to a inpatient rehab, whether it's for 2 weeks or 2 fucking years.
It must be terrifying.
So all those emotions are at play. Like I said earlier, when you originally got angry and then you went through it's like a grief. You go through your stages of emotions, and it's not a linear thing. On your side of the table, yeah, and then the next day it turned into eagerness to help, and you had touched on the fish stuff. We talked about it at the beginning of the podcast. I know how much music means to you at your church, at your sanctuary.
Yeah, it
is your genre, and that they're really all music, but you have a specific genre that you really enjoy. I know the Rush thing was hard on you. You've seen every fucking show under the sun with those guys, and all their tribute bands and everything. God bless you. They're good.
Oh yeah.
But they're great. I know that your sister also.
Michelle was obsessed with music just as much as I was.
So then you guys have that connection.
Yeah, we had an intense connection over specifically the band Pink Floyd.
All right.
Pink Floyd, their music is reflective of a lot of the things that she went through.
I lost my virginity to Comfortably Numb playing in the background.
That's charming.
Sorry, TMI. Sorry.
Here I'm pouring my soul out over
Yeah,
Pink Floyd is in my, you're yeah, I fucked to that song. Cool.
Who hasn't? Anyway.
Me.
God bless you. All right. So, sorry. I sometimes, I don't know if I don't.
Okay, fair enough.
I just blurt and... Anyway, I know. So Pink Floyd bonded you and your sister.
It did, yeah.
Even more. Even closer. What?
I'm sorry, I'm losing it.
We can edit that.
Is it something I said?
No, we're gonna leave that all in.
Is it something I said?
No, Chris needs to own that. He needs to own that.
I'm new at this. It's not about me.
The derailing of a perfectly good conversation with a war story.
So it's good. I want to get a little bit of laughter and be, you guys, this is heavy
It's
shit.
heavy.
Yeah, it is.
so
It's absolutely heavy, and it's okay to laugh.
at me too.
Well, yeah, and
that's what the both of you are fucking doing. Right
Well,
now.
that's right. That's exactly right. And it's okay to laugh too. I mean, it happens all the time at work. If I complain about some small bullshit, the girls like will crack up at me and they'll be like, "I'm sorry, I'm laughing." I'm like, "No, dude, it's okay. You have to.
Right.
Like, you have to. This is funny." So that was hilarious. I'm glad that just happened.
So if I can gather the two of you, Pink. So you guys started enjoying music. This was a high school thing, or when did this start?
It started. It started with El Monstero, the local Pink Floyd tribute band. If you haven't seen them, go see them. They're a fucking delight.
They did a huge thing for our Family Heart Foundation.
Yeah,
Ollie
so
Hinkle Heart
not only
Foundation.
is it a great show, but they're really, really great guys.
I remember you telling me that before they did this with Ollie, like that they're, and that's something that you were drawn to. Your you like these, like the musicians that are good fucking people.
Yeah,
too.
yeah, I appreciate that the most. So it started with that. I went to see them one time, and then Michelle the next year. I was like, "You got to go. You got to come with me." So she came with me, and she was blown away. So that became our tradition. We went to El Monstero every single year without fail. And even a couple years in, we're like, why are we only doing this once? Because they play like 7 or 8 shows every winter, We're like, why do we only go once? Let's go 2 or 3 fucking times. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go all the time. So we started doing that. And the music really bonded us. And I remember there was one Christmas, and this is, so you always like to do recommended listening. I'd like to offer.
Yeah, please.
I'd like to
Give
offer
us our background music.
I got you a recommended.
We can't play it because we'll get sued out of our ass.
Exactly. I know they don't take kindly to that. But I will say some recommended listening is Wish You Were Here. And the song started out as I got my first guitar when I was 21. And that's the first song I learned how to play, of course, as just about everybody. I think everyone starts with like Stairway to Heaven or Wish You Were Here, like one or the
Like
two.
Wayne's World, no stairway.
Right.
Denied.
yeah.
That's right. So I do remember like getting that guitar out and just wanting to show off a little bit. So we sat next to the Christmas tree, which El Monstero is at Christmas time. So we've actually always referred to Christmas time as El Monstero season.
All right.
It's not Christmas season.
Jesus is not offended.
No, that's cool, man. Jesus gets it. Jesus
does.
has got to love Pink
He's
Floyd,
jamming
man.
to
He's
Pink
got to
Floyd
love
right now.
Pink Floyd, dude. So I got my guitar out. I wanted to show off a little bit, so I played Wish You Were Here sitting next to the Christmas tree, and we like sang it together. But this was before any of this shit went down with her. So she was still in a really good place at the time.
Yeah.
But Wish You Were Here became my song for her, and here's why. It's because it's about a man named Syd Barrett, who was a member of the band. And Syd Barrett did a whole lot of acid, which exacerbated a mental illness that he already had. He had schizophrenia, which eventually got way worse as a result of drug use. So
Man.
Syd Barrett kind of disappeared and went off into the world, and they were recording an album called Wish You Were Here, and this man showed up at the studio, and he's like fat and bald and like unrecognizable, and these guys are like, do you guys know who this guy is?
That was
hanging
me at
around
the
here?
pits of my.
That was Chris
alcohol
Pondoff.
zone.
That actually turned out to be Chris
Exactly.
Pondoff.
That's what I look like. That's what I look like before I stopped drinking.
Spoiler alert, guys, it was Chris Pondoff. No, so this guy is standing around, and the guys in the band started to be like, dude, do you know who this guy is? Who is this guy? And they eventually realized it was Syd Barrett.
Holy
And he
shit!
had
I
dropped-
never fucking knew that.
Yeah.
I've heard that song a million times.
Yep. And to a lot of people, it's like this cheesy kind of, it's the Pink Floyd song everybody knows and blah, blah, blah. But to me,
Right. But then you hear this story.
but you hear this. So Syd Barrett was like off in the world, like lost, and nobody knew where he was, and nobody knew how he was. And that's what the song's about. And it's about him.
So
And
he showed up.
Yeah, he showed up to the recording session, and
Yeah.
nobody knew who he was. And I don't think they talked to him or anything. Like maybe a small talk, maybe.
Wow.
But he was so far gone.
Yeah.
He couldn't connect with any of them. I don't think he was able to interact with them.
Mental health, man.
You got to take care of yourself.
I've seen some guys on some bad fucking acid trips in my, like, really in high school back when.
Mm-hmm.
I think I haven't been around it. I know that the mushrooms and the acid are a little bit different.
Yeah.
But I've seen like guys with the paper acid or whatever the fuck
Mm-hmm.
LSD is, and be on some bad trips, like I heard a story about a guy that did so much he thought he was Jesus Christ for 6 months. Like that's how fucked up he was.
Wow.
Acid is
Hope
always
it wasn't him. We missed that one. We fucked that up,
Yeah,
didn't we?
right. We sent that poor guy packing, and he
No
might have been
shit.
the real thing.
No wonder why this fucking shit's going to hell.
Right. You sent
That's why we got our president.
You sent away Christ himself. You.
Let's just hope it was the acid.
That's it.
Yeah.
And pray for that guy. Obviously.
That's right. Pray for him. But
So I bring that up because I know how important music is,
Yeah.
and I know how important it was to your sister, and how even through her addiction and really her sobriety. Because you had mentioned when I told the audience here that she passed away that you had thought she was clean, like you didn't know that she was using again, because during her battle, during her journey, and her fighting against addiction, there was a period of sobriety.
yeah, she had a few of them.
And you would tell me that you would try to take her to shows, and you guys would go to shows, and it'd be like it was fucking spiritual for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely, and that especially going to El Monstero and hearing
Right.
them play "Wish You Were Here." I mean, if she was standing next to me, she would hold my hand. She knew it was her song. She knew that she was lost out in the world. We're just two lost souls swimming in a fishbowl.
That's it. That's
you know,
it.
and so and that's how it was for years. That's how it was. I didn't know where she was. I didn't know what she was doing, how she was doing, and I just thought about her all the time. So if she was standing next to me, she'd hold my hand during that song.
Oh, my
And if
God.
she wasn't standing next to me, I would be in a puddle of tears. Because I always knew, because there were times when she didn't go with me. There were times where I took her one time and she was with me physically, but nodding out at the table that we were
Right.
sitting at. And my friends were all like holding me. I mean, I'm at a show that I fucking love. I've been going to this since I was 18 years old. And my friends are all holding me because I am wrecked. Because my sister was at the table, nodding out, clearly gone, clearly just gone. So we've been through everything together with that band particularly. And yeah, I think our last time seeing Wish You Were Here together was El Monstero of 2017. I think that was the last time. And she was on the floor and I was up in the seats with my parents. And that was amazing too. Our last time seeing El Monstero together, we finally got our parents to go. So all
Holy
four of us
shit.
were there.
Are you
It was our last time. Yeah. And she texted me during Wish You Were Here. She was on the floor and she goes, "I'm singing this to you right now." And I said, "Me too."
All right.
And I still have that text message. Like, I'll never delete that. I almost need to like screenshot it and send it to
covered
something
in
else.
goosebumps right now.
Yeah. Well, same. Yeah.
Thank you for this.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And that, I don't know. We all have our own story. I would just relate. I mean, that shit to fucking God, man. That's just nuts. And you had touched on her. You used the term nodding out. Was there times through her? So okay. Let's just go back a little bit to opioids. When did you know that she started using them? Because she offered you one, and then when she told you that she'd been addicted to heroin, somewhere in between, she made the switch.
Yes.
Because-
and I didn't really know the story behind that until after she got clean for the first time.
Really?
Yeah. And apparently she'd been hanging out with, oh God, this could go on a tangent easily.
Do your thing.
She'd been hanging out with some bad people, because due to our childhood trauma, we didn't know who we could trust. You can't trust your
Bingo.
own fucking parents. Who do you know to trust? So
Bingo.
So and it's not that we didn't trust. I shouldn't say parents. Our mother was always wonderful to us. So, but know, the other person who you're supposed to trust, you can't. And so she obviously started running with some bad people. And from what I understand, the person she used with for the first time told her that it wasn't going to be addictive.
Oh my.
And she claimed to believe it, although I don't know how true that is. I'll never know. But she did claim to believe it. And I think it was very sneaky for her, the way she explained it. And
I wonder why she'd lie, though. I mean, if she
Because
told
she
you this
was-
after she got clean, like,
yeah. Well,
I think that's something that we all know to be true, but I could see how you would think, well, if I do it once.
Well, here's the
Right,
thing.
you
I'm going to
know.
explain how sneaky it was. And back to the lying thing, too, just real quick. I think some people who are addicted to drugs, even in their sobriety, they're so used to lying that they just do it.
That's a good point.
And
That's
so,
a good point.
So, so she, even in her sobriety, she would lie to us about little tiny things that she didn't need to lie about, things that she probably felt like she needed to lie about. I think it was just second nature to her because of her addiction.
Yeah, I mean, we become professional fucking liars. There's no question about it.
Right.
You're
and
right.
It's,
That's a very good point.
It's a hard habit to break. You have so much shame about what you've done that you'll do anything to like skew the truth somehow so that people don't really know how bad it is.
That's why I'm so grateful for you coming on here today, because, you know, as much as I try to relate, our perspectives are so different because you are on the side of the table of the friends and family of, and yeah, you're so right, because we do, especially, there's something about, obviously, the stigma of heroin and that addiction to, you know, with and shooting stuff into your veins. Like, I've seen the most honest people turn into fucking petty thefts.
Yeah.
They walk into a gas station and steal Rolos. Like, they're not going to resell the Rolos. They just take it because they just are so used to lying in their way through their addiction to get a fix. So that's a great point.
I actually have a counterpoint to that you're saying it turns honest people into dishonest people. I think Michelle and I might have both been habitually dishonest.
Oh, yeah?
Due to our childhood.
That's true.
We were so terrified of getting in trouble for anything because trouble meant bad. It was bad.
Yeah.
I mean, we would get...
And think about that.
We would get beat. We would get... you know, he would yell at us and he would belittle us, and it would be terrible, like, just for innocent mistakes. So anyway, I think that kind of contributed to her ability to lie, because we were both so used to lying. We were like, because we didn't want to get in trouble. Oh my God, it was horrific. So I don't know. So I'm not sure why she would lie about that. But back to what we were talking about, the heroin was a sneaky addiction for her. I think she started with it and thought like, oh, that was great. I can do this on weekends. This is awesome. So it was like, and this is what she told me, actually. So she started it and was like, that was great, dude. All right, I'm going to do that again next Saturday or whatever, after I get off work. And soon Saturday turns into Sunday because you don't feel so good Sunday because you need it, or you just want to do it again because it's so great. And soon that turns into, okay, I have to do it Monday before work because I'm sick as shit. I can't go in and do anything. And then it quickly turns into a daily thing. And it's very sneaky like that, though, because the first few times you do it, you don't necessarily feel addicted to it. At least I understand that to be true for some people. And I'm sure with other people, like I've heard Harris Whittles talk about, and he's a famous Fish fan, also no longer with us. But he was a famous Fish fan on Parks and Rec and a comedian, hilarious guy, just a gem of a person. But he talks about heroin and saying, like, as soon as I did it, I know I did heroin.
I've heard that too.
Yeah, he was
as soon as it's in your veins.
Yeah, he
fucked.
goes, I shot up and goes, that's it, I do heroin. That's it. And so, so I think for some
everybody is different. There's no question.
Yeah, for sure. So with Michelle, it was a more like sneaky thing. It just kind of crept up on her, and I don't think she expected that at all.
I have been a student of childhood trauma since Ashley and I started doing the foster thing, because that's all basically the training is all you're getting a traumatized child. And did you a little aside for understanding childhood trauma is I don't know if it's a relatively new thing. I think it kind of is, in the way that when doctors used to ram fucking Ritalin and shit down kids' gullets because they were ADD or ADHD, which is a legit condition.
It absolutely is.
What happens if they get to the bottom of that, kiddos that have childhood trauma, the same symptoms of childhood trauma are the same symptoms of ADD, ADHD.
Do you know why that is? Because people with children, especially with childhood trauma, become very, very sensitive people.
Okay.
And sensitivity is one cause of ADHD.
Okay.
And
yeah.
so that's being a highly sensitive person makes you internalize the world around you.
That makes sense.
So
yeah.
I actually
I'm
just
thinking my own
listened
little guy
to
right
listened
now.
to another podcast, and I'll say the name of it.
Yeah,
if
well,
you-
go ahead.
Okay.
I don't think we can get in trouble for that, Jeff. Right?
No.
We're promoting.
Okay.
the
Yeah,
motherfuckers.
absolutely.
Yeah, so I don't want to I was almost like I don't want to promote another podcast
No.
on yours, but there's a really wonderful podcast called Last Day, and
Okay.
it's all about the opioid crisis, and it's
really?
it's done by Stephanie Whittles Wax, who's Harris Whittles' sister.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, and so actually I want to say this too. She has a book all about Harris and her losing him. Excuse me.
No,
and
you're good.
and it's called Everything is Horrible and Wonderful, and it's all about her loss of him. And guess what? That book came out 2 weeks after Michelle died. Oh, wow. And I read it. I read it immediately. I blew through it. It helped me so much to
Awesome.
understand. And you know what I did? I reached out to her on Facebook,
Did you?
and I sent her a message, and I was like, "Hey, look, I don't expect you to respond to this, but." I just want you to know your book helped me a lot. I lost my sister 14 days ago, and I needed this more than you know. And you know what? Within minutes, she got back to me.
Man.
Yeah,
awesome.
minutes later, I had a message from her.
Say the name of the podcast again,
The name of the podcast is Last Day.
and say the name of. You know the name of the book, right?
The name of the book is Everything is Horrible and Wonderful
Okay. Bye.
by Stephanie Whittles Wax.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out
It's
too.
a great book.
Awesome.
I'll let you borrow it. I got it. I'll let you borrow it.
Yeah, that's incredible. And so the trauma, there's now they're separate. Now they're once they identify the child as okay, you have childhood trauma. Before we start prescribing you the Ritalin and shit, we're gonna investigate a little bit. And when they found out, and I'm speaking from personal experience with my little guy, like there was some trauma. Let's address that and treat that, and it's amazing. Like the therapy and the that he gets, and that's helped him, and then it's actually helped because it's helped Ashley and I help him, which is great. It's incredible that they've gotten to this point. And so when you were telling your story about your, can I call him a shitbag or not?
You can, certainly.
Your fucking bag of shit, bio dad. All I could hear was the trauma for both of you, and how I would have bet all my money on a roulette table that the trauma that your sister was struggling with led to probably some of the addictions. And
I'm certain that it did, and
I never met her, right?
No, you didn't. No, and that would have been nice if you. I wanted you to, because I thought you guys.
You kept inviting me to shows, and I want to. So, speaking of that, when I bring up the music because it's so in your DNA.
Yeah,
the music
is everything.
is you. So having her, I know, following her passing, it was tough for you to go out to some shows, and then there was one that you couldn't go to. Yep,
I could not go to El Monstero this year. I went last year, and that was the first one that I went to.
But you fucking you were drugged. I made myself go. You really took that on. I mean, the bravery that it took to go do that.
Yeah, it was really tough. So they played a summer show in August of 2018, which was 6 months. It was actually 6 months to the day that she died. So in August of 2018, they played a show at Riverport, and I was like, I gotta just try, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It feels weird to miss it. It's been a part of my life since I was a teenager, you know? Right. So I was like, I don't know if I can miss it. So I went, I bought a lawn ticket, and I sat at the top of the lawn, you guys, and I cried through that like whole show. And just at different times, people came and held me, and when they played Wish You Were Here, I had like all 10 of my fucking friends like holding me, literally holding me. I mean, I sat on the ground the whole time, which is unusual for me. I usually stand and dance and move around, and I just laid out a blanket and I just sat there at the top of that lawn, and it was dark, and I was like, I don't give a shit who sees me. Like, I'm just gonna endure this show. And I literally got welled up. That's a great
word you just used.
Yeah, endure. Yeah, it was definitely an endurance. But even just walking in and like seeing the El Monstero logo on the stage, I was like, oh God, here it goes. I just started like crying immediately. And throughout the show, there were parts of it that I liked enough, but because I liked their music, So there were parts that I enjoyed, but for the most part, it was just so god awfully painful to do
You really
it.
faced your fucking grief head on.
I
that
did.
show.
I mean, I need this music, and whenever I really need to feel Michelle, I listen to Pink Floyd. Specifically, I told you guys to listen to Wish You Were Here for this. I also want our listeners to listen to On the Turning Away.
Okay.
That was her favorite Pink Floyd song, and it's also, I mean, the final line of the song is it only a dream that there will be no more turning away? And that's powerful to me. Like, we can't turn away from these people in pain anymore. We can't. And back to what you're saying about trauma and Charlie, and I'm sorry, should I not have
No,
said
you're
okay.
fine. You're fine.
I didn't want
He's ours now.
Okay. So anyway, back to your discussion about trauma. That's one of the podcasts I listened, that Last Day podcast.
You cut Charlie's hair too, so
I
you
have,
know
yeah,
you know Charlie.
Yeah, I do. Yeah,
you followed
He's-
You've been in our corner since we.
He's a good
this,
kid,
so.
a really great kid. So this Dr. Gabor Mate talked all about trauma and how it's the one thing in addiction therapy that's usually not addressed. Usually people like address the addiction itself and like what's problematic about it and why is it ruining your life, and he takes a different approach. He wants to talk about trauma, and he also wants to talk about why is the addiction good for you? Why do you do this?
That's awesome. That. So when Nick was on, he mentioned that his facilities, they what makes them a special group is that they go after that shit too.
Yeah.
They don't just treat the addiction. That's a great way to put it. What that doctor put it. Why does this feel so good
Yeah,
to you?
why do you do
Let's
this?
fucking address that
Yeah.
shit. Let's roll our sleeves up. Let's get our fucking hands dirty, and let's get down
Yeah.
and figure
why does this
shit
make you
out.
feel good? Why do you need this to feel good?
Man, that's great.
You know, and it's so that was a really interesting perspective to me. And you know what, I guess we're gonna jump around the timeline here a little bit, but you know,
It's okay.
towards the end of Michelle's life, you know, like I said, her death was shocking because none of us knew for sure that she was using.
Right.
I suspected it the whole time. I didn't suspect that she was using yet, but I suspected she was on her way because I could tell that she was not taking care of herself, and she was not addressing her trauma, and she really, like, she didn't
Yep.
hang on to any sponsors. And maybe 12-step isn't for everybody, but she wasn't really doing, and I know it works, but she wasn't really doing anything, you know? So she was going to meetings and seeing people but she'd have a sponsor, and then she'd flake out on them after like the first two steps.
You have to work the program.
You do.
You're not going to get anything out of it if you don't work the program.
I know. And she really did. She never worked the program all the way through. She never made it past like step 2 ever.
Yeah.
And she told me that. She told me that a few times. But at the end of her life, I suspected something was not right. I suspected it. And even my own boyfriend was like, you know, you're the only one that could see that. Because I was. No one else could tell what was going on. And I just
as
felt
close as you guys were.
Yeah,
I can see that being
I was
true.
the only one that could see what was really, really happening. And our last night together, we got into a little bit of heavy stuff. She had this boyfriend the last few months that she was alive, and I don't want to say his name because I'm not a fucking fan. Never was.
We'll talk about that offline. I'll put him on my list.
Sure.
I have that list, you know, that
Yeah.
if the Christian shit doesn't work out. It's called my cut list.
if you gotta go a different route. So anyway, this guy stepped out for a smoke and to like run across the street and get us some food. And in those few minutes, I got a couple minutes with her just to talk about like, hey, what's your path? What's going on? And she had an appointment with a psychiatrist that was coming up, and she wanted to like try to help herself. Actually, while we were sitting there, our bio dad called her. She still had a relationship with him.
She did.
Yeah. I think she always chased that. Like, whereas I walked away from him when I was 18, I was like, I'm fucking done. I'm done being abused. I'm done being talked to the way you talk to me. I walked away.
Fucking courage right there, Theresa.
You guys, I ghosted my own dad.
That's fucking
I
courage.
didn't even say goodbye. I didn't even tell him I wasn't going to talk to him ever again. I just left his house one day and never came back. So, but she didn't do that. She really wanted to maintain that relationship because she had different memories of childhood than I did. Like, I would be like, oh, do you remember this or that? And she'd be like, no, I don't. And it was, you know, horrible things. So he actually called while we were sitting there, and she looked at it and was like, oh shit. And I was like, what? You know, and she goes, it's him, you know. And she said there in that moment, she goes, I think I'm kind of done with him. I think I'm kind of done trying to talk to him, and I think I'm kind of done with everything. And I was like, that's good. If that's how you feel.
I'm like smiling.
Yeah,
I'm like grinning.
And I was relieved, but I didn't want to be too enthusiastic, you know, because it's not an easy decision to make. So I was just kind of like, well, good. You know, I hope you can find some support elsewhere, because I don't think he's giving it to you, you know. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what their relationship was like. We didn't really talk about it very much because I frankly didn't want to hear about him. Now, I never told her that, but I think she knew that.
Yeah.
I never told her not to talk about him. She could talk about whatever she wanted with me.
Sure.
You know. But yeah, she seemed very focused on her recovery at the last night we ever spent together.
Man.
Which was at a concert, appropriately. The last place I ever saw my sister was at the pageant. So that was that.
So... yeah, and that they get great addicts, and you get great at hiding it.
Mm-hmm. And she was great at hiding it. Yeah, she was great at hiding it. So, and I'll jump around again after she passed away. So she passed away on February 12th, and for 2 whole entire days, we wondered what happened to her. We were like, what was that? Did she have a heart attack? Did she have an aneurysm? I guess we're going to have to wait for the autopsy results, because none of us knew she was using.
So you knew she had passed away.
Yeah.
Freaked out. Family's crushed.
Well,
and
because
then
that's
you
the thing.
Didn't know what the cause was.
Yeah. So where we found her, we found no evidence of drug use. We found no evidence in her bedroom, in her purse, and where she was. Like, we didn't find any evidence of anything.
Sure. I hear all the time that that heroin addicts, when they get clean and then they use again, often the ODs, because they go back to using the same amount that they were using when they were at the peak of their addiction.
Yep.
And their body can't take it anymore, and it shuts them down immediately.
Well,
I don't know if that's the case here, but
that's not what happened to her. She got a full shot of fentanyl, which is another huge problem right now.
Feeling all the emotions with you, that makes me so angry.
Yeah, I know.
And sad.
I know.
And I felt happy and relief when you told me that she had like come to peace probably with her old man, like the bio dad. Like, that made me smile. Like, this is how, feeling all the feels, as people say.
Yeah,
on this.
yeah. She went through a journey, man. She had a lot of stuff.
So the pageant was the last time you guys were together.
Yep, at a They Might Be Giants concert.
Okay, because I remember so when I was asking about the music, we did the Riverport show, but you didn't go to the El Monstero show this year because you couldn't. Because like you said earlier, your grief journey is not a fucking line. It's all over the place. What's that? When you're on the TV shows, when there's a patient in the bed, and before they flatline, yeah. It's got it's up and down, up and down, up and down until somebody's flatlined. So that's kind of how the grief graph looks. And but there was one in particular that I remember that maybe it was the first time you went back to the pageant. Well, it was something at the pageant that you were. I think your boyfriend pushed you to go. Am I getting this right? Yeah,
he encouraged me.
Was it the first time back?
It was the first time back seeing El Monstero at the pageant. I actually went to the pageant like 2 weeks after she died, and it was horrible for me, but I had to do it. I went back to see the other local tribute show, Celebration Day, which she and I had like no ties to Led Zeppelin, so I was like, I can do this. I can try to do this, but oh my God, it was fucking hard to walk back into that place, because we've been to so many shows there, like not just El Monstero's. We've been to so much there. So yeah, walking back in there was really, really tough. But I did it though. I got through it. We had to leave early because I kind of had a meltdown. I was like, I just got to get out of here. I got to get out of here.
Didn't you guys stay overnight somewhere? That like, wasn't it a special occasion that I thought you guys had a hotel room? And
we did that like our last year that we did El Monstero together. I got a room at the Moonrise, because the thing for El Monstero is you wait at the Halo Bar like all day to get into early entry, so you can get in and get these like prime real estate seats when you get inside.
Jeff's a musician. You know how the pageant works, right?
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, so we stayed at the Moonrise Hotel so that we could just walk, because it was fucking freezing that day, but we had to, so you're going to be standing in line for a few hours hours, but if you can try to minimize that time, it's good. So we stayed at the moonrise so we could just pop down there and see what was going on in line. And once the line got long, we're like, oh shit, we got to go. So then we ran down. So that was our last time, doing that together. And like I said, our parents came, and that was really, really nice. But and I did, the year that she passed away, I did go to El Monstero at the pageant that year. But like we were saying,
that was the show. That was
and I actually enjoyed it more than I thought that I would. Okay. You know, I enjoyed more of it than felt pain. So that was really interesting to me, because this year, for some reason, the holidays were like way harder. This year, I don't know what happened. I remember. Yeah, and I don't know what happened with that. And it's, well, like we said, it's not a linear process, so it can go all over the place.
This is so helpful for just me to hear, and I know it's gonna be helpful for the people out there listening, because my grief, like my ultimate tragedy, was my old man dying, and suddenly and tragically, and like I couldn't do so many things. Afterwards, like I to this day can't even drive down the street or into the neighborhood that we lived in. I did, we had worked together, so I had to go back to the office and his office was right across the hall from me, so I had to face that, and it's still today can be real fucking brutal. Yesterday was his birthday, and somebody's asking me, like, we went out to lunch and kind of celebrated it, and somebody's like, I know this is a tough day for you, and I go, actually, it's not to this year. I'm in a real good space. So yeah, it's this grief journey is not linear, as you stated, and it is something that I don't advocate us doing alone. That we do it with somebody. We help. We reach out. We chat with people. Talk to a therapist if you can.
It's interesting you bring up the therapist thing. I've actually been seeing a therapist for quite some time now, and I had an appointment with her the day Michelle died.
Holy shit.
And I was so thankful that I got to go to my therapist that day. I was like, oh my God. And I walked in, and, she had like some other business to discuss first. Like, it was early in the year. There was some insurance thing. And she's, then she proceeded to like, so how's it going? Not too good, I guess, huh? Because I was like fucking wrecked. I had I barely got myself through taking a shower. So I did that. And that's, shower, brush my teeth, the basics before I leave the house. And that's it. That's all I could accomplish
I've been
that
there,
day.
man. I know it. No, it's not all you. That is the hardest thing to accomplish, and you did accomplish it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm like going back. I know the feeling of how hard that is to get the fuck out of bed. And I've heard a lot of grief stories and journeys doing this I don't know, outreach or mission work, whatever the fuck you want to call it.
There was like no way I could have slept anymore that day. I mean, we found her at like 5:45 in the morning, so I was up like that whole day, and my appointment was sometime in the afternoon, and I was like, I gotta do this. Like, I gotta go in there. And so, that was my first thing that I just came out with it. I'm like, we found my sister this morning. Yeah. And we talked about it, and she's been very good. She's helped me through my grief like a lot. And it's nice to just be able to talk about it. But that's where I'm thankful for you and for people like you that have been so supportive throughout this whole thing. 'Cause you've been through it yourself, and you've not only been through grief, but you've been through addiction. So you understand a lot of the aspects of what I've gone through with her and with myself. And so I just appreciate having that connection, to be able to have that with somebody is really special, and because not everyone understands this. And that's what I hope to accomplish by this podcast, is to help people understand it, and to help people feel like what they're feeling is normal. And I just want to tell people right now, if you have lost someone to addiction, it's perfectly normal to feel a whole array of emotions. Like, one thing that I felt that was really odd to me was relief. Like, I hear that. I hear that often, but not a lot of people have the balls to say it. You don't want to admit that, because it's hard to admit that. But on the other hand, it's like, I don't ever have to be scared of that again. I don't have to be scared of losing her ever again. And I would almost say that the fear of losing her is just as bad as the grief I feel after losing her. Like, the intensity of that emotion is just as bad. Like, it feels terrible. It felt terrible. She struggled with her addiction for over 8 years. And not knowing what the next phone call was, not knowing
So many
where
people are
she
going to
was.
resonate with what you're saying right now.
Yeah, I hope so, and I hope that they can feel normal and feeling what they
Instead
feel.
of shame.
Yeah,
because I think it carries shame if they admit it.
Yeah.
That they had some relief, because we get that bad, and you're waiting around and scared to death. My mom said it even often, that like she didn't sleep. The first night of sleep she had was when I was tucked away in rehab.
Wow.
Theresa, I'm so fucking grateful for you and your vulnerability and willingness to come on here and share some real tough, in the feels, deep shit.
I'm glad to do it.
Jeff, this was good, man.
Great.
I can't thank you enough. And I don't want to. If there's anything else you want to share, I'm not putting a lid on you.
No,
this
that's
is
cool.
great.
Yeah.
I could do this all fucking day.
I know. I really could. It would be very easy.
We'll
to
have you
do
back.
it.
This is amazing, and I think a lot of people. This is going to resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And God bless, God's speed to Michelle.
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer that we all have like an army of angels up there, right? Keeping an eye out for us and trying to throw us some God winks. And for those of you that don't know, Theresa here is a rabid, besides music fan, St. Louis Blues fan. And Kansas City Chiefs fan.
I've had a hell
That's
of a
all
year.
I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
I've
Michelle?
had a hell of a year.
Thanks for the Blues, at least.
Yeah, man. Sorry that you got to be a hater about the Chiefs.
They're all right. I don't hate them. I'm a Cincinnati Bengals fan, so I don't really have a dog in the fight.
Yeah, but aren't you like a part-time Raiders fan too, though? Sometimes. Like,
So me and my
isn't that
friends,
a thing that you've said.
me and a couple of my buddies. I don't know if I was still drinking, but if I was, we were all drunk in this garage. And I was sober because it was when the Rams left. So they were drunk in the garage, and we're like, who's gonna be our new team? So we started like drawing cards to represent teams, and we landed on the Raiders. I go, well, I'm a Bengals fan, so I can't have another AFC. It turned into a big fight, so it was some pretty dumb shit. But
well, you should resist being a Raiders fan. Those people are degenerates.
They are.
You should.
I'll tell you a funny, before we close, a funny string cheese story.
Oh, jeez.
Not the food. There's a band like Fish called String Cheese. And
String cheese incident.
Oh, excuse the fuck out of me.
Well, hey, I'm trying to help our people, you know.
String cheese incident. So they played at the Fox, and I was all fucked up, bunch of blow, and my friends that took me make fun of me because I dressed up like we were going to some kind of club concert, like probably kind of nice. And
You got all the hippies there.
So I walk in the first.
They're like, who's this fucking square?
Yeah, exactly. Right. The first thing
There's a narc in the audience. There's a narc out here.
That's so funny. That's probably. And then I walk into Fox, and the first thing that hits me is the smell of weed and BO. And then I go into the bathroom, and this guy is like on the floor underneath the urinal, like falling out on like mushrooms. And then like, so it was like gross as fuck. And then he looked up at me, he's like, you want some of these mushrooms? I'm like, no, look at you. I'm not taking anything you just
Not
took.
if it makes me roll around on the bathroom floor.
Right, and covered in urine.
You're
like, get the
right.
fuck out of here.
Right.
So we go to our seats. This is with my friends that I always talk to you
Yeah.
about. We go to our seats, and I am a shit-faced mess, and I'm like starting to get like I want to fight somebody, like just a jerk off, right? Well, these people in front of us start holding up a fucking state of Texas flag. String cheese incident.
Are they from there?
It's from Texas or somebody.
I feel like string cheese might be from Colorado, but you just don't quote me on that.
Well, somebody told me they're from Texas.
Okay.
That's why the
They
Texas
might,
flag
they
was
might
up
very
there.
Well be, yeah.
So my drunk ass starts screaming at him, fuck Texas, this is Illinois. Because I'm from Illinois, right?
Yeah.
We're at the Fox in Missouri. What a fucking idiot I am. But none of these stoners could hear me. They were all in their own fucking la-la land, man. But I have not ever been asked back to a show since I went to that string cheese concert with them. I did do the Keller Williams thing in Champaign, and two of my buddies like laid in front of his bus so he couldn't leave, doing the "we're not worthy" thing, because they love these fucking jam banders, man. I'm so stoned, dude.
I'll have you know that I listen to Fish and the Grateful Dead regularly without being stoned. I'll have you know.
All right.
I do.
I didn't know that was possible.
It's possible. I do it. I live it, you guys. I
She
do.
couch tours, so like if she's
I
not
couch
going to the
tour.
show, she live streams Fish shows, dude.
Yeah, man.
Man.
Got a 6 set up.
Teresa,
man.
I want to end on this.
Okay.
It's been a tough couple of years, but there's been some highlights.
Yeah, absolutely.
And knowing your love for the St. Louis Blues and for Fish, how fucking awesome was it that they played Gloria
Oh my
after
God.
Game 7?
You know what's even more fucking awesome is that you called it. Like weeks before that, you're like, what if they play Gloria? I'm like, stop it. I didn't even think about that.
Total shot in the dark, right?
I know, and who would have thought? But I will say that was the best night of my life. Best
And
night,
that's why I brought it up.
And I didn't think that was possible. With what I have been through.
That's
And
why
so-
I brought it up,
Yeah.
because I know how that was. I was fortunate enough to be in fucking Boston.
We were
for
both
that
having the
game.
best night of our lives.
Yeah, you can
like
say
we
that
both
again.
were. I was
I
thinking
told
of you.
Ashley that my wedding is no longer the best night.
She is a saint.
She is.
She really is. Yeah, I can't believe it. That's
She goes,
amazing.
I kind of can understand that a little bit, but you're still an asshole. I wanted to bring that up because the joy is an understatement
Yeah.
for that night.
Oh, yeah.
To be at your with your band with. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, this is more than just going to watch the fucking Backstreet Boys. This is a way of life. Fish fans, and for them, for Trey. Trey,
dude.
for Trey to play Gloria and there was an inflatable Stanley Cup going around. Oh my God, it was
amazing. That
way
was
to
just
end it,
amazing.
man.
I can't believe it. I just couldn't. Yeah, to be there to celebrate my favorite team winning the championship with my favorite bands, surrounded by fans of my favorite band. I mean, Fish fans are feral, like
right. That's what I'm
they're
saying.
absolutely insane. And so, like I've talked to so many people.
Little stinky.
They're aromatic, all right? They're aromatic. But I've talked to a lot of people about that since then, and all these people I've known a lot of people that had tickets to that concert, and they're like, I couldn't go, man. I couldn't go. I had to watch the game. And I'm like, you know what? I can't imagine being anywhere else that night. I can't.
It
It
for
was
you, it
perfect.
didn't surprise me. And then I was in this seats in Boston, like going nuts, almost making out with strangers, like men and women. But no, I'm just kidding, Ashley. But we're going crazy, fucking tears, and I got your notes, like. They played it. You fucking called it. They fucking played it. Like
I had to. I usually
oh
don't.
my God, I'm going back to it right now. My heart is fucking.
So you're
like,
sitting there and you're getting chills, even
dude, you have
even
no
through
idea,
a text
like,
message. Yeah.
Oh my God, and covered in them. And the reason I'm bringing it up, the reason I'm closing with this is because if you're in the fucking depths of this grief shit, there's hope.
Yeah, there absolutely is
Life
hope.
you'll experience joy again, and sometimes, in some cases, joy that you can't even right now you think is impossible.
Mm-hmm.
And for us, I know for me that's what God offers, is the ability to make the impossible possible.
Yeah, I didn't
Make
see
it-
it coming, and I'm so happy. I'm so happy it happened.
God,
I didn't see it
Fuck.
coming that night.
That's
I really
amazing.
didn't. And if you need some joy in your life, look up Fish playing Gloria on YouTube.
It's
If
there.
you need, it's out there.
I
It's
listened to it on the way here
they're
to get ready
nice.
to interview you.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Nice.
I've seen it too.
Have you? Good.
Yeah.
Good.
I'm gonna
It's-
listen to it when I leave.
How fucking fun was that, right?
So
It's
fun.
so good. So anyway, if you guys, if anybody needs to be cheered up, and this is the last thing that I want to add to this, to Chris's friends that we always talk about, please meet me at a
Yes.
show someday. So Chris has been telling you.
We'll pass the tutor.
Now I'm telling you, if you're listening to this, I got to see you out there somewhere, man. I've heard so much about you, and we got to do this.
You guys can have some oneies.
That's right.
Thanks, guys, for listening. Teresa, God bless you. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your mom.
Thank you.
I'm praying to your sister
Thank
to
you.
keep looking out for you guys. And what a beautiful woman she was,
Yeah,
and
she was.
still is.
Mhm.
And
Always will be.
we'll
Yeah.
honor her however you want, and we're going to honor her by helping other people
Yeah.
too. So I know that's what she'd want, and from the shores you've shared, that she would want us to do that. So
Yeah.
think about her often. I think about your story often, and I love you. And like a sister, this has just been a brutal topic, but it's going to really help some people. So thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much. I love you back, and thanks for being there for me for all the time I've known you. All the time I've known you. Thank you so much.
No need to thank. We're going to keep on keeping on.
Yeah,
right,
man.
like you said?
Yeah, man.
All right, guys. Well, that'll wrap it up. Thanks for listening. We will post some links on the website, and until next time, let us pray.
If you're struggling or know someone that is, please have them check out our podcast and reach out to Chris or me. We want to listen, and we're super eager to help. Pondoff's Anonymous is Chris Pondoff and produced by me, Jeff Allen. Our music is Anti-Hero by McCall and Gentle Waters by Wild Wonder. For more information, visit pondoffsanonymous.com. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.